hit record here, and we'll do just a real short intro for everybody. So Aaron, you want to start us off?
Yeah, my name's Aaron. I own a small software development company, and I'm an active developer, but also kind of a product guy on stuff we work on. And I've known Elaine and Savvy Coders for a few years now. I guess that's probably enough about me.
Awesome. Moesha?
Sorry, I don't know why it was so hard for me to find the unmute button, but again, my name is Moesha. I'm here with the LETC side with the H1B1 workforce grant that is providing the funding for these participants to be able to complete the course here with Savvy Coders.
Awesome. Scott?
Yes, my name is Scott Carlson. I work for an IT company by the name of Aption out of Reston, Virginia. And I specifically work with a Department of Labor contract as an industry intermediary for expanding apprenticeship opportunities in IT and cybersecurity.
Awesome, thank you. All right, so we have Joseph Cruz, Sarah Seal, Colby Shanks, Sharon Deep, and Ryan, who are going to dazzle you with their awesomeness. So we will start it off. Let Sarah introduce herself and start off with her capstone demo.
Hi guys. I just wanted to say before I started, I was sick over the weekend, so my throat is still kind of sore. So if I take multiple breaks, I just wanted to give you guys a forewarning that I'm trying to pace myself here. So let's get started. Hello, my name is Sarah Seal. I'm a current employer to the United States Postal Service as a mail carrier. I have decided to change career paths and focus on a true passion of mine, which is working with computers. I've always been inspired to have our world become a better place with the help and use of technology. As a novice in coding, I decided to attend and enroll into Savvy Coders web development program. My mother-in-law is currently a teacher in this program and has helped informed and conclude my decision to make this transition. My husband and I have a passion in sharing bonding experience of riding motorcycles across the United States. My capstone project is influenced and can help motorcycle enthusiasts find scenic rides, locate nearby motorcycle repair shops and accessory stores within a one-stop web application. The tools I'm using thus far as a starting point into creating my main goal and starting point for my web application are MapQuest and Open Weather Map APIs. With what I've implemented a MapQuest API, a user can find directions to a location they have an interest in. I'm also implementing an Open Weather Map API to have users know what sort of weather is current for the day near them. I've yet to find something similar to my ideal while researching. I believe it'll become a useful tool to have while traveling once it's fully developed to my goal. So let me get started with sharing my screen. So I have pulled up the Jira board that we were working on creating our projects as well as going through the curriculum in our course. I unfortunately wasn't able to fill this out to the extent that I wanted to, but I want to keep trying to work on using Jira and this type of layout to keep my process of managing my goals in order. So I just have my user maps and stuff done. And then to talk a little bit about my capstone, here's my user story. This is my original idea. I was going to have like a sign-in page, which would link you to the home page, and then the home page would have the planned trip, destination, shops, account, and forums. And then my sign-in page would look a little something like this with like a background image and like a sign-in and like the logo. I've handwritten all this stuff because I I just like the feel of drawing stuff out. So I'm more like hands-on with paper. Uh, this is like the inspiration for my homepage was just going to be like a scroll through of photos and just the links to the different pages and account information, weather, form, um, accessories of like contact us and stuff like that. And then my planned trip was going to be like the map view and like the zoom in and out, map settings, the compass, edit tools, more stuff on the side. This is my destination page, which is going to be a future idea to try to get this layout with like the search bar and more like social media type platforms stuff would go right here. And then this is my sorry. This was like the layout that I was gonna have, like for my logo was this photo, and like we went through in the class of like how we wanted the users to feel and what they're seeing, like how would they use it, stuff like that, like the activity of signing in. They would sign in with an email password or a social media account to like create a new user, or they could create a ticket through the contact page and message email, and the home page is where all the accessories of like trying to plan trip, destination, shops, events, contact, stuff like that.
Who did you do the activity diagram as a team? That's kind of great.
We originally did it as a team, and then we did it individually for our capstones as well.
Okay,
So
so
we could
everyone,
understand.
part of your process is to do an activity diagram like that. Did you follow that as you were doing the development? I mean, did you kind of go back to that as a reference or not? Was it one and done?
Unfortunately, I didn't use that as much as like the wireframes.
Okay, I'm just curious. I don't see that so often. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. It's okay. I don't mind questions at all. So I wanted to show my capstone through like Netlify. I already have it open on this page right here. Sorry, here's the home page, and the goal I was trying to do is, or I wanted to implement, but I just wasn't able to finish my implement, was do like a slideshow of like different photos. And then the account page, you can create an account, just typing in your name, address, email, create a password, motorcycle information, like a security question in case like you forget your password, writing experience just for fun. So you can kind of like on like some forums that I've seen, they just like to show like I have this much experience or whatnot, and like a social media account. And then I have the weather I currently have for St. Louis. I want to implement more of like a worldwide like geolocation type of service, so that wherever your user is, they can have like a geolocation of like their current weather, and then implement more of like when they are planning a trip, they can have like a weather data, like weather forecast of like where they're going, or like how the weather plays a big role with traveling. So I wanted to make more of that a priority. The trip, you can enter like any address, and I'm just gonna do where I currently live. And then I'm just gonna do the Gateway Arch. And unfortunately, I need to work on my show directions because it's having an error. So I need to work on that on the Netlify end. But on the on Netlify, my show route works, which is awesome to see like this visual of like your start point to your end point. And my main goal with this map is to combine the map and the trip into one so that the user can see everything all at once instead of having to go through separate pages, like something similar to like Google Maps, like something we're all like familiar with. That's like another main thing I want to try to work on. Contact is the same thing as like the account. You can just put in your information and your email and your message of whatever your valid input is. It could be like positive or negative, anything to help us or help me understand what I could work on to make the website like a more friendlier user face. And when you submit the account or the contact page, it goes to forms free. So I instantly get an email notification with that response that someone has. I do have my website on localhost right now, so I'm hoping, I'm hoping that with the time that I had earlier that it will still work. Yep, so it shows you like directions, like a turn by turn of how to get from the start point to your end point. And also I can show off a little bit of my code of the MapQuest itself from that page of using the Axios library and using a .git method. We can get this link using our MapQuest API key, and we can collect from street, from city, from state, to street, to cities, to state. And then we can respond by storing this information into the plan trip and getting the directions, and then that responds to the directions we've the data that we've collected. And then we can, if there's any errors, we can catch them. So it will print out an invalid address when I go to say the inspect page into the console. It'll show it right here. And also I was able to 80% make it mobile friendly. There's some little tweaking that I really would like to work on to make it kind of like where I would like it to be. Other than that, I think that's it. Is there any questions you guys have?
Sarah, how did you build the application? What tools or technologies did you work in?
We used the single page application process. We learned from not knowing how to build that into building it using like the front end and the middleware and then the back end, and they all communicate together using like the API. Sorry. Yeah. I'm trying not to cough. Sorry.
So what technologies did you learn and build your application with?
Like using like storing our data in like MongoDB, using Heroku, using Netlify as like resources, having questions of like using JavaScript to implement like functionality into making my website. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
I wish I wasn't like still sick because I'm like,
No, you're fine. All right. Thank you, Sarah. Did anybody else have any questions for Sarah?
Maybe just what was your favorite technology that you learned? So it sounds like you learned a lot of these, but did you have an area that you were you liked more than the others?
I kind of liked the designing, like CSS. I struggled with that the most, and I think with me struggling with that the most, kind of like made me want to do it more, if that makes any sense. I think I'm more comfortable with understanding the front end side of things more than like the back end side of things. But I think over time, with more experience and more practice with it, I can get more comfortable with it. I need to find more time to do so. That's another thing that I've struggled a lot too, is time management. And I'm trying to work on that. And it's been a little difficult for me, but I'm still going. So
Yeah. One thing to keep in mind, these guys all have full-time jobs, not in technology for the most part. So they're in class 3.5 hours a night. We give a ton of homework, and they have to find the time outside of work to be able to, and outside of class to be able to pull this off. So they absolutely did. Awesome.
Well, that's great. And I'm well aware of the many details it takes to complete a product. So that's great. Did you like React? It looked to me like you were using React.
no, I didn't use React at all. I just used what they were teaching us in the cohort with a Visual Studio Code, and everything that we learned in the curriculum is really what I based everything off of my website with.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we don't teach frameworks other than Node, Express, and for the back end to work with MongoDB. So we want to teach them the core fundamentals of JavaScript first,
Okay,
and then
great.
suggest they rebuild their applications in a framework of their choice. So,
Gotcha. Great.
okay.
Great.
All right, Colby, you're up next.
All right. So, hi, my name is Kolebe Shanks, and I'm passionate about art, design, and coding. So I chose Savvy Coders because I learned about coding boot camps following my graduation this May, actually, from Southeast Missouri State University here in Cape Girardeau, Missouri. And I thought it seemed a good fit for learning, Savvy Coders, the necessary information after I attended a JavaScript preview night that Savvy offered. And it just so happened that one of the apps that you have to finish the pre-work, I was solo learn, so, for the web design fundamentals. I was actually 3/4 of the way already finished with it, but by the time I even learned about having to do that for the pre-work. So everything kind of just, meshed together like a puzzle piece. And so I chose the drone delivery service as my capstone because of the issues we've had as humans with the distribution systems. And I believe drones, both the flying and ground varieties, are the future of distribution. And I wanted to create this capstone based upon that idea. So in my capstone, I implemented a few newer design trends, such as glass morphism, which I'll get into later on, larger fonts, visible borders that show the grid foundation, a thin serif font, specifically on the homepage or the home view, and higher page loading speeds. And as Sarah was talking about, we converted our regular page into an SPA so that, fundamentally and incrementally increase the loading speeds of each page. So I will go ahead and share my screen as I'm talking, so it's not boring. Okay, can you see this? Okay, so during this cohort, we utilized Scrum ceremonies. And so Scrum is actually a framework that is under the Agile umbrella. And it creates a teamwork environment with an iterative goal in mind. It breaks down your project, whatever the project may be, into bite-sized chunks in order to deliver high value products that are coming to the client or whoever at a consistent schedule. And so we participated in daily stand-ups in which we utilized a Google spreadsheet that we filled out with 4 prompts. And those were, what did you work on yesterday? What did you or will you work on today? What have been your blockers? And then how are you meeting your sprint goals? And then we also practice sprint planning by using our Jira board that you're seeing here. This is my personal Jira board for my my capstone. And we laid out what needed to be accomplished, and we did so with epics. And then under these epics, you have different child issues that you need to accomplish by by the sprint, by the end of the sprint, which is normally around 2 to 4 weeks. And then we, at the end of each sprint, we showed or reflected what was accomplished and prepared the backlog for the next sprint. A good visual that Jira has for that would be the roadmap. And that's this right here. So if I use the scroll bar, you can see the different start and end dates of each of the sprints. And so in the second half of the cohort, I was actually the product owner. And then the instance of this boot camp, what that entailed was that I facilitated what was required between the assignments and and what my team was actually doing through the Jira board. So, creating the backlog items and roadmaps that led to the next sprint. And I made sure we stayed on top of finishing and checking off all the assigned tasks in a timely and sensible manner. And here, and so first of all, I started off with the user story mapping, and mine personally, I started with the corporations. So not like a specific demographic, more of like the whole entity itself, and describing exactly, the ages and, why would they specifically want to use a service like this? And then we would go on to the customer service, and these are the two releases that I specifically worked on. And each release is like, the overall goal is to come out with a MVP or a minimum viable product. And so in my case, I wanted to create, like the homepage, the shipping page, the frequently asked questions page. And then initially I had a prices and payment section, which I ultimately merged under the services tab, or a services view. And then I had the review overall. And I also combined the review and the frequently asked questions, I believe. And so the first release, I wanted to have images with captions, clickable links to the services section. And then I also wanted to have the interactive map along with the addresses. The frequently asked questions, I wanted to have questions to contact us, and, the prices as the size of the drones along with how much it costs for the shipping. And then I wanted to create these workable billing and review buttons, which is something I actually plan on implementing further on down the line. Along with this, under release 2, you'll see that I have the sign in or create account. And I'm wanting to have some sort of authentication, which I plan on utilizing something like MongoDB as the backend for the database to hold all that information. And then we have release 1 and 2, which is just what you see right here, just in larger format. And then I'll go on to my wireframe to show how I envisioned everything working. So I wanted you to be able to come to this homepage, and then there'll be the account icon. And then this is what I was talking about with the authentication and implementing it in MongoDB or some other similar database server. And so, you'd be able to sign in or create an account. And if that did not work, then, incorrect, sign in or try again. And then whenever you were successfully able to sign in, then you got to change your account settings. You could change your username or password. You could pay your bill, or, you could sign out. And then with the homepage, there's the images that I plan on implementing. And then like this, check out the drones, would be able to go on to the later pages. And then this will be my interactive map, which I utilized a third-party API, called Mapbox, and then I would have a legend to show exactly where an individual could ship their products from. And then we would go on to the prices section, and this is what I was referring to earlier with the individual images that also showed how much it would cost for the shipping. And then we would go on to the payment section, and this is another thing I plan on implementing later. And you would get subtotal and everything before you reviewed it, and before it calculated taxes and what have you. Then you go into this next section. It would talk about the taxes and your overall total, and then either it would direct you to it could not be processed, please try again, or payment processed successfully, check your email for the confirmation. And then we have the frequently asked questions section, which would have questions about like maybe more so what the business is about, and like where's my shipping, where's my product, or where's the other person's product, or what have you. So that would be that. And then if there would be any more issues, the contact us page or contact us section. And then this is how I viewed the flow. This is the user flow. So this is how I envisioned people being able to go through the website, and which is similar to what I was demonstrating with the wireframe, with the home page, and you'd be able to click on the nav bar, which will direct you to the other pages. And then there's the login section, the authentication, which I would the sign on or incomplete or needs to sign on. And then there's the data that I was referring to, specifically with like MongoDB again. And then each page would have the footer. And so this website itself is hosted on a platform called Netlify. And so for this bootcamp, we actually utilized a 3-tier system. And the presentation tier, which is what the user sees, Netlify, and the local host. And or that's also considered like the local environment that's displayed only on your personal computing system. Then there's the application tier, which is known as the middleware, and it also, like the front end, it uses the local host, but also uses Node and Express. And we utilize Express to consume third-party APIs. In my case, was the open weather map and the map box for the interactive map. And so we used various technologies such as HTML and CSS to give the framework and stylization, and then we used JavaScript to create the site's function. And here, and then this is my homepage. This is excuse me, where the user is directed to initially. And so each section has the interactivity I was referring to. Whenever you can go scroll over with your mouse, and then that fades, just a little bit of something to keep the client or customer entertained a little bit. And each section talks about their what this company does, and how they do what they do. And then I'll go to the map section. And so this is the map box that I was referring to with
I think Colby's internet just died, or is in the process of dying.
yes.
Okay.
Okay. So what I would do in order to create this logo, I would use an AI called Stable Diffusion, and it uses something called a clip guidance scale to fit a prompt that I would input, and then whatever the result was, I would bring over into Adobe Photoshop and then fine tune the overall design, and then export that to Adobe Illustrator to convert the image from a regular rasterized image, which is like the most commonly used image. And then I would convert that into a vector, which isn't pixel based, and it's actually composed of paths. So it's highly scalable. And so also what took the longest and what was the hardest was this section right here, the 16-day weather forecast. So this table was the crux of mine for quite a bit of time. What took the longest was this. It took a lot of studying and working with a few savvy instructors. A big shout out to Matt and David specifically. They were an incredible asset to getting this implemented. So I hadn't really worked with arrays as much before, but I knew I wanted to display this on my page. And then I can show this real quick in my code. So I actually utilize these template literals in order to display right here. This is that section to display what you see there. And I'm utilizing, was it fat arrow syntax right here? You can see here, which is just a way of creating cleaner lines of JavaScript code. And I wanted to utilize this template literal, which are these backticks, in order to display the table on my page. And then here is what that looks like under my my index. So again, utilizing the Axios get method to get the open weather map API to display, at least in the console, excuse me, or the response is what actually displays it. And then I had to utilize a for loop because that's how I actually got all of these to display just like this, because they were all starting off as an array, and I wanted to display all 16 days, because if you're wanting to ship a product and you want to use a the flying service, you don't want it to have like lightning or heavy rain, because a drone is just not going to be able to go through that. And go back. Then we have the services section, and this is the glass morphism, or at least my version of it that I was discussing earlier. Excuse me. So it's normally an effect that gives a frosted glass appearance, and it's usually established to establish some sort of hierarchy on the page, and it normally affects the Z index. And whenever you add the Z index, it actually adds depth and a little bit of flair to the site. It's an effect I've seen on newer design trends, and I wanted to see if I could implement it on my site. It actually was not very as hard as what I was expecting it to be. And granted, the glass morphism on my site is a little less poppy than normal, because normally people use a linear gradient background, and I didn't feel like that would be as effective in what I'm trying to demonstrate, at least for like a corporate magnitude. So I like the look of this minimalist style a little bit more. And you can, again, just like the homepage, you can scroll over with your mouse, and then it will show the different sizes, and then the overall price of the shipping. And then I have my frequently asked questions, which have, how does it work, which goes more in depth with that. Why haven't I received my delivery and such? And then if you have any more issues, you can actually contact the individual. So you can do John Smith. And then I actually learned this the other day, but if you are signing on to some sort of company like Pinterest or whatever, you want to create an account, if you utilize the plus sign and then the whatever website that you're trying to sign in on, well, if they're selling your data to third parties, whenever you utilize the plus and then whatever the website is, it will actually show you who is stealing your information and then taking it to third party API or third party companies or what have you. So anyways, I'll go ahead and just write test in the contact us. This is utilizing form spree, and then I can bring you into form spree, and this is their backend server, and refresh this, and then you'll see here test, and then who actually was contacting you and everything. So yeah, and that's my presentation. Is there any questions? Or are there any questions? English.
Because for me, the same thing. What was your favorite technology? What was your favorite part of the project?
Oh, it was definitely the JavaScript, because it was frustrating, and I like that. It was like what Sarah was saying with the design, wanting to work with it more. Like, I'm definitely going to work with it more. And like during the cohort, we have week 3 homework, and that's whenever we like really go into JavaScript. And that was that was a time in itself just to work on that homework. But then whenever we're converting our page from, like a regular web page into an SPA, having to put everything, I'll even show you, having to put everything in these, importing it as an HTML literal and then exporting it into state, and then, being able to display all of that, that was pretty time consuming. But yeah, I definitely enjoyed that. Like, I love design, coming from Southeast Missouri State University with a bachelor's in digital art, but like, I just like being able to figure things out. And so JavaScript is just like a constant level of figuring things out and just a constant state of learning. Because like, it was like what Matt, the head instructor Matt was always says, there's more than one way to skin a cat. And I don't know, I just really like that aspect of JavaScript.
Cool.
All right, Colby, thank you so much.
Thank
All
you.
right, we have Ryan up next.
Hello, my name is Ryan Sutton. I received my bachelor's and master's degrees in sports management. Upon completing my degrees, I found that working in the sports industry is an extremely competitive field and really struggled to obtain a career in that field. As a result, I began working other jobs, primarily in customer service. While I was good at the jobs that I was working, I didn't particularly enjoy them and found it hard to find a position that felt like a career I would like to have. My brother-in-law is a computer programmer and saw that I was struggling to find a career I really loved. He thought that I might be successful in programming and told me about Launch Code. I took part in a Launch Code class and found that I really liked coding. Now I'm ready to continue my progress and development. So I found out about Savvy Coders while researching local coding courses and attended a preview night. After attending the preview night, I felt that Savvy Coders would be a great program for me. And I've been fortunate in my life to have many good opportunities come my way. I realize that not everyone is so lucky, and it makes me want to get involved and help in whatever way I can. So for my capstone project, I created a website that allows people to find local charities so they can volunteer their time and connect with others who have the same goal to help where needed. So now we'll take a look at my project. So first here I have a user story map that I was planning out some of the functionality and ideas I wanted to have for each of my pages, for focusing on, easy navigation, and my homepage. I wanted to have, local charity news and events, information, and things like that on the homepage. Then I wanted to have a search page that would allow users to find local charities by, causes or, interests that they have. And then also I'd like to, I wanted to have a functionality to be able to allow the user to save any charities they find that interest them to their profile so that they can keep coming back and look at different charities that they find interesting. And then I also wanted to have a community aspect where users who create a profile with the site would be able to find each other based on, similar interest in charities, and maybe even connect with each other to try to volunteer together and things like that. So you're planning out my site. This is kind of what I was hoping to have the homepage look like, with images of local news articles about charities, along with information and also events going on with local charities. And then on my search page, just a simple search functionality to be able to look for the charities that they're interested in. And then the community page, which would be able to display their specific information for their profile, as well as being able to search for other users and see their connections as well. So here's what my project currently looks like. Here at the home page, I have just a couple of local news articles related to some charities that you're able to click on and, go and read about that news item. Here on the Find a Charity page, I have my site connected to an external API called Charity Navigator that provides information on charities. And here you're able to search by different topics. And okay, I was afraid that might happen. I found that this API has been somewhat problematic for me, just because sometimes it doesn't always work for some reason. So I actually prepared a video that I recorded of my screen with being able to function, so you can kind of see what the functionality looks like. So you're able to search by a topic and then receive all the local charities that fit that topic. And then if you put in a new search item, it's able to clear out those previous results and then show out the new results. And then lastly, if you search for something that it didn't find any results, instead of displaying a table with the results, it just said, lets you know that there were no results found. So one particular problem I had with this page was trying to figure out how to be able to, hide the results until a search is actually committed, and also to clear out previous results and then have the new results displayed on the page. So in my code, I can show kind of where I did that. We're here on the search page, and I created a table to display the search results. And I created a property to make it hidden. And if that property would turn out to be true, it would display the table. And if not, it would display nothing here, this empty character here. And so the way that's done is here, I have what's called an event listener, where if a click or a search is performed, it would do these things where here I have the results returned as an empty array to start with, just to clear out any previous search results. And then once it finds the value that was entered in the search field, it's able to, make a request to the API with the search term that they entered, and then come down here and then change the property I had set from hidden to display at that time. So, and then one thing, when I was planning out my project, I had thought about how to do the sign-on process, and I ended up deciding to add an extra page that I hadn't planned on, of just having a simple form where a user is able to put in some information. And upon submission, it goes to an external database I've set up through MongoDB, which sometimes it takes a little bit to process that. But once that happens, it should take you to the community page, where now it would show this newest entry here, along with other people that have been signing up as users. And here, as others have kind of showed already, this is my JIRA page, where I was adding different things I wanted to work on with the project. I found this to be one of the most helpful tools for me, just being able to break down each feature or item I wanted to work on into more manageable pieces. And then within those, having individual pieces of that just here to make sure I was able to complete everything I wanted to do for that specific feature. And so, I'm really looking forward to continuing working on my project and using this to plan and prepare for anything I want to work on So that being said, there are several things I plan to update in the future. One is here, I would like to be able to, instead of having these news articles that I have displayed kind of hard coded into the program, be able to maybe, contact a second database I set up with local news charity information and have a way to maybe display it as a slideshow or a way for the user to click through different articles that way. And then with my search page, as I said, sometimes this API doesn't work. So one thing I would like to maybe try to do is create my own API and gather the charity information I would like to do to have it be a little bit more reliable in that respect. As well as when I was, I don't know if I can show again, but when searches were being performed, this API didn't have website information for a lot of charities. So that would be something I'd like to gather as well to make it easier on the user to have those websites readily available. And then here, as I kind of showed in my wireframe, I'd like to have the ability to actually authenticate users so that they can actually create a profile and have their information displayed and actually find and connect other users. So that's all things I'd like to do in the future. And right now, I've started to work on making my project more mobile friendly. One thing I'd like to do, and specifically with this page, is kind of style the table a little bit better because it's little strange. It doesn't, show all the information on that view right away. So that's one thing I'd like to work on, and just continue making it mobile friendly. But I do like I think the navigation works pretty well here in the mobile view. So I was happy with how that turned out. But one thing that I feel like I struggled with the most in this is the design process. I feel like my project's fairly simple at this time, and I've never really considered myself to be, artistic or creative in that respect. So I'd really like to work on the styling more in the future to make it look more modern and and just really focus on improving that because that's something I've struggled with throughout this process. So that's really all I have for my presentation, unless there's any questions.
All right. There's no questions? Okay. Aaron, did you have a question?
Well, I feel like we should at least have one to everyone. You said what you did like, but what was your favorite part of it? What was there technology or something that you really did like?
Well, I think kind of with Kolebe, I really liked learning the JavaScript. Like I said, I had some trouble with my search page and trying to figure out how to not have any results show upon first loading the page, but then being able to display the results when a user searches, and then again, clear out the previous search results and show the new results. So that was really, it was frustrating at times, but it was really fun once I was able to figure out a way to make that work. I thought that was really great.
Cool.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Ryan. That was awesome. Sharon, you're up next.
Hi, my name is Sharon. I have a master's degree in computer science. I have always been interested in coding. I started my career in teaching and was a lecturer in college for 4 years. I got married and I moved from India to the United States in 2013. I wanted to continue pursue my passion in coding, but I took a different path at the time. One of my friends recently graduated from Savvy Coders and had good things to say about the program. So I attended preview night and knew right away that the program was for me. I have been working in salon for many years. So for my capstone project, I decided to create a salon website that is meant for people who do not have knowledge of eyebrow threading, why they need facials, what kind of product are used in facial. So the website will allow user to indicate which type of facial they need for their skin type, and they can choose services accordingly. Many other salon websites I researched did not handle the customer visits well. So I have included section for visits, so you can track your visits to earn reward. So I used JavaScript, HTML5, and CSS to create my website. Now let me show you what I have created. So I will show my website first, and then I will show how I planned this. So this is my website homepage. So I used here 3 APIs. First, the weather API, and I also added my GitHub link over here.
Sharon, we're not seeing your screen. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I thought I hit. Sorry about that. So this is my website homepage. So I added the 3 APIs over here, and this is the weather, and I added the GitHub link over here. And there are 4 pages for my website. So this is the second page, why we need the facial. And the third one is track user visits. So I researched on the different website. They did not cover this part. So I was trying to do a little bit different. So you can select what kind of services you want to do. And like, for example, I just got the eyebrow, and you can enter the username, and you can add the phone number, and you can submit the punch, and this punch submitted in the MongoDB. So like this. So you can, and if you want to track your visits, so you can add your phone number and what services you had done before, and you can count your visits. So how many times visited you in the salon. So even I can show you the same with the same phone number, the facial and the count for 7, and same if that client got the third service from us too, and this is for that. So for different services, the user can get the different punches for that. And in the future, I will work on that, because I'm planning after 9th, the 10th services will be free. Either they can get from the eyebrow, they can get before the facial, they get free waxing. So after 9th, the 10th one, 10th one will be free. So I will work on this thing, like after 10th, they will not add the count. So I will work that thing in the future for that. And last page for see all the services. I'm using the three different tables over here, and with the like for the threading, what kind of services we are provided under the threading section, and what is the prices. And same for the facial, what kind of skin you have, and you can choose the facial according to your skin. And same for the waxing, and different services for the waxing we have provided in the salon. And for like for this page, for the designing, it was a little hard part for me. In the code I will show you, I just created different 3 tables. And for the CSS designing, it was a little hard for me too, because I connected the different 3 tables and designed different color and all stuff, like especially the alignments for the table. So I used different 3 tables for this page, and I will show for this functionality in my code for the user visit. So I was using this thing in index.js. So this is, I just used over here the state, like the view, state.view, like my page user visit, and I use the ID over here, and I use the AXU library and the get, and this is my API, and user visits dot punch count and get the data and store in the user visits. And this is for my count, like this is for this page, the get a punch, like you can get the username, phone number, and the stamp. And this is for the count thing, so we can count with the help of this. And I'm showing you for when I just starting plan for this. So this is a research on different websites. So I liked these two websites, and I got idea from these two websites. And this is my flow chart. I will show you. The homepage and about us, services, bifacial and products. I will add this thing in the future. And I will also add the sign-in option for the user, so user can create their account and they can add their review and they can update and delete their account. And this is for the stamp card, because after getting the services, they can get, before I had a plan, like when the user get create, like sign in the account, then they get the stamp card. So like I just little bit change. And this is my, oh, sorry, I'm showing you wireframes. So these are my wireframes. So this is for the stamp card. Before I had a plan to, I will add the image for same about us, bifacial, services, product, and sign in and stamp. And same. Sorry. So this is for the services. So in the services like facial, threading, waxing, what kind of like they are. So just I planned this way. And this is like I did this, so why I need to, why I want to build on this application, and this is outline. So what color, like, and what images from where I'm using, and this is acceptance criteria. And the research website, I researched on these websites. And this is like SWOT analysis. So that's it. And I'm showing you. Do you have any question? Please let me know.
Awesome, thank you. You did great. All right. Aaron, did you have a question?
Well, am I being silly? I mean, should we not ask how many of these are we doing? I just like to hear what the of learning in the technical side of it. But if it's, I don't know. Yeah, okay, sorry. Yeah, I'd love to hear what part you really liked.
For my website?
Just the project in general, you know. Maybe not.
In the coding section, definitely I love CSS part and I love the JavaScript part, because before I hadn't very good experience with the CSS, but because of this website, I got more experience. Like, and I didn't show you my mobile view. Sorry about that. So if you want, I can show you again that screen. and I like that thing too. And I like the JavaScript because that is the main functionality. We can create the website, we can connect the MongoDB, and we can use the API because of that thing. So I love that. And if you want to see the mobile view, I can share my screen again.
Sure. The what? Sure.
Forget to show. This is my mobile view. And I show the data bar over here, and this is the track user visit view, and this is why we need the facial, and I use the table in the different format over here.
I'm just getting a black screen. Is anyone else getting more than a black screen?
Yeah, I can see her project in mobile.
It's on my side.
Okay. All right, Sharon, thank you. All right, last but not least is Joseph Cruz.
Let me just share my screen over here, and then I think we should be in pretty good shape here. All right, so hey everyone, I'm Joe Cruzy. I have a background in military intelligence through the United States Marine Corps. Specifically, I worked in the human intelligence and counterintelligence field. And then after I got out of the Marine Corps, I've spent the last decade as a software product manager, most of that time with Palantir Technologies, where we provided data analysis and artificial intelligence software. And during my time at Palantir, I led projects with the Department of Defense, the Central Intelligence Agency, ATF, DEA, Department of Veterans Affairs, and I even spent some time weirdly supporting the Food and Drug Administration out of all of that. I recently left Palantir actually to take a new position at a very new software startup company called Peregrine Technologies, where we're actually providing data analysis to law enforcement. And as part of that, I actually joined Savvy Coders as kind of professional development to grow my skills as a technical product manager. So for my capstone here, I'm relying on my background in DoD and law enforcement to create an application that integrates case management systems and jail management systems, and then allows the user to perform facial recognition on any uploaded images and then match that against a repository of people that have been previously arrested. So obviously I'm looking forward to showing you what I built here, but before I actually dive into the demonstration, I think it's really important to cover a few things up front, because I think the context is going to be helpful as I kind of navigate through my application. And in particular, because this is a law enforcement based application, providing some of that background around what law enforcement does and what systems they use, I think is actually really relevant here. And so for any law enforcement department across the United States, you're typically going to have two primary systems that law enforcement uses as like enterprise software. And these are CAD and RMS. And CAD is computer aided dispatch, and RMS is a records management service or system rather. And so CAD is basically anytime you call into 911, a dispatcher is going to be sitting in front of a computer and they are going to take that 911 call. A lot of these CADs have a voice to text feature that'll actually like save a narrative of what was discussed over that 911 call. And then typically they have some kind of automated vehicle location or AVL service that's also associated with it, which allows them to say like, hey, I know that this report is coming in from this location and I have this officer that's in close proximity that's currently not tasked. I'm going to send that call to this officer so that they can actually respond. And so when an officer responds, most of the time incidents are kind of resolved on site, but sometimes you actually have to do an investigation behind that incident. And in the case where you have to do an investigation, you store all of the relevant case files inside of an RMS or your records management system. And so these are going to be things like witness interviews. You can have video, like Ring doorbell footage is very common these days. Pictures or videos that people have taken from the scene, any number of different kind of file types that end up in this RMS system that actually support the investigation that that police officer is doing. And then there's one third type of system that not all police departments have. It's actually only police departments that have a jail attached to them, but that's a jail management system. So a JMS, and that's typically after you're arrested, somebody takes your mugshot and uploads that to the jail management system. It'll have biographic data about who you are, phone numbers, contact information, even granular things like blood type. And then it has all of your booking history and all your court information inside of that as well. And so for my project, what I essentially wanted to do was mimic what it would look like to integrate a records management system and a jail management system, right? That case information and that jail management information, and then essentially tying the two together so that you can upload a picture of somebody, run that against all of the mugshots in your database, and return some result. Awesome. So with that, let me kind of pivot over to what I designed as kind of my mocks for this particular application. And so this was all done in an application called Figma, which is just designed to kind of build slick wireframes. And I'd used it in a previous, I have a lot of previous experience with it. So it seemed just kind of like the simplest thing for me to end up using here. So here, what on my home screen that I had envisioned was, essentially a user lands here. They have this option to upload an image or a video here through this kind of main portal. They can see notifications, and this is any previously uploaded images or video into the application. And they also have this recently viewed here where they can get back to somebody they've looked up in that jail management system. I then wanted to kind of create a search page here as well so that you can search across that jail management system using a keyword. So something like, run somebody's name, return the results, see kind of who matches in the system to that name, and then be able to kind of click on that and then take you to a more detailed view of a person. So essentially, this would be my person object view, where I can see the granular details about who this person is, where they live, previous mugshots that have been taken of them. And then down here at the bottom, I have information about their criminal record and things like that as well. But I think the crux of the application here is around this kind of notifications view. So I want to be able to upload an image. I want the system to be able to process that image using artificial intelligence. And then I want it to run a match against all of the individuals inside of my jail management system. And if a match is found, then present that to the user so that they can potentially create a lead in their investigation. And with the proliferation of video and photo technology, everything's recorded these days. Police officers run into this all the time where they have multimedia, or they have video or images of the crime occurring, but they're not actually able to identify the person in that image. I also kind of wanted to not just blanket go out and scrape social media, but actually put some rails on it, because facial recognition is a little bit spicy, if you will, which is actually why I named the application Cayenne. I thought that was kind of a funny take on it. But you want to kind of restrict it to only people that have previously broken the law and broken the public's trust, essentially. And the best way in my mind to do that was to use that jail management system. So let me kind of go ahead and dive into my application and sort of show you what this looks like here. So this is my actual application versus my mocks, and there's some slight differences across here, but you can see here on my homepage that I have notifications. These are all of the previously uploaded images that I've added to the system. I have a contact here. I have some training materials, and then I also have a user guide if you're not really sure how to kind of get through the platform. And then right here in the center of this screen, I have this upload media option. And I ended up keeping this because I decided that from a cost perspective, not every police department is going to want to integrate their records management system. There's a lot of data and it gets expensive to actually store that data. And so at a minimum, you need your jail management system, but you don't actually need the RMS to be able to do those matches. But I'll kind of show the differences here in just a second. So I can come in here and I can select this upload media option. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go out and today I'm going to use Bruce Willis is what I decided. So I trained the models against a bunch of a celebrity data set. It's actually called Labeled Faces in the Wild. It's built by MIT specifically to do facial recognition and see like how good something performs. But just to prove that I haven't preloaded, I'm just going to go to a random image here. And then I can take a screenshot of this image, which will be Bruce Willis here. And I can actually upload that into the platform. So I'm going to call this case number final demo. And I'll put the justification as like robbery or something here. and then I can choose that file. And having a justification is actually really important because you don't want police officers just willy-nilly uploading photos. You want some kind of audit logging, you want some kind of historical tracking, and you need to create a justification anytime you upload something. All right, so I have Bruce Willis here. That was that screenshot that I just took. I'm going to go ahead and submit this. And in just a second here, we'll pivot over to our notifications view, where we have this final demo, that information that I just put in, and I kind of built this inbox style view here so that you can go through it in a way that's kind of familiar to a lot of users where they have, some kind of inbox. Anyways, we're going to come back to this in just a second because as part of the course, we were also required to integrate data from an API as well. And so this was actually a really cool process for me to go out and integrate something, some data from an external API. So I'm actually using real information. I live in Nashville. I'm using real information from nashvilledata.gov. This is their public records management system, and they have an API for it, and you can integrate it into any platform. And I used Mapbox here and actually put geolocation data behind each one of these different cases. And so I can kind of hover over any of these cases here, and I can see like, for this case in particular, there was damaged property and it occurred near Premier Avenue. It has a case number assigned to it, and the current status of that case is open, which means no arrests have been made and they haven't actually closed that particular case yet. And actually, after I started talking with some law enforcement folks, people that I work with and other contacts that I have, they told me, a police officer probably isn't going to be the ones uploading the images to your system. It's probably going to be a crime analyst. And so this is actually a really cool view for a crime analyst because crime analysts typically are assigned to different divisions. You'll have a crime analyst assigned to robbery, another one assigned to homicide, maybe one assigned to domestic violence, whatever the different kind of breakout of those units inside of a police department end up looking like. So let's say, for instance, I was in fact assigned to robbery. I can actually filter my table down to just the robberies that have occurred. I can see all of those open cases here. I can see ones with handguns, one with knives, etc. And I have this option to process the case here instead of through my home screen. And if I process this case and upload an image through here, I actually automatically grab the case number, the justification, and then autofill that submission date, which was actually a really fun process to go through on how you pick out the right row and how do you get that information to populate into the form automatically for you. So that was a really fun kind of thing to go through here. But this time what I'm going to do is my wife actually was wondering if the model could determine between identical twins. So I'm going to go ahead and upload some random image of Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen together here. Let's try and find one where they're both in the picture. Cool. So we'll find a picture of Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen here. And I'm just going to go ahead and take a screenshot of this as well. And then this time I'm going to upload it through this process case option. So here, I'll go ahead and come down here to my choose file. I'll select Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen here. I'll upload, I'll submit that. And this should pivot us over to that notifications view. And I'll see those two notifications that I've just created, those two uploads actually populating here. So if I select this first one here, you'll see that this is the photo that I've uploaded. This is the case number. It's going to say the results may take up to 30 seconds to process. And that's kind of, that was a fun part of this too, because the model takes a little bit of time to actually process all of the information inside of this. When these results come back, I'll show a processed photo here, and I'll also have some recognition matches come back as well. But in addition to all of those other things that are going on, I'm actually grabbing that case number, and then I'm going back to that API. And then that API, I'm pulling in all of the case information. And so you can see that the model actually correctly predicted that the person on the left is Ashley Olsen. The person on the right is Mary Kate Olsen. They have a Euclidean distance against the training data of 0.38. And then I also have their recognition matches down here as well. So I'm going to pause here real quick because there's a lot going on this page. And I kind of want to dig into the details of what's actually happening behind the scenes, sort of how I set the application up to actually be able to do this here. So let me kind of jump through a couple of slides here. And this is Robert Downey Jr. instead of Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen, but whatever it ends up looking like. The way that this is actually working is when I go to that upload modal on my homepage or on that process case page, what I'm actually doing is I am doing two different posts, because we had to learn through the class to use MongoDB as our backend, but MongoDB doesn't have a really good solution for storing media. They have one, it's called GridFS, but I did a bunch of reading on it and essentially said, just use AWS S3. So that's what I ended up going with as the solution. So what's actually happening when I upload a photo is I'm actually posting to AWS S3 first. And then when I get a response back, I'm converting that response to JSON and then automatically also populating an object into MongoDB as well. And so if I actually navigate here to my S3 bucket, let me just refresh this real quick so that those recently uploaded photos come in. And I'll see this one at the top, this 37B, is actually that picture of Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen that I just uploaded. And if I go to Mongo and I refresh here as well, the last upload will actually have this image path assigned to that object, which is a really cool, I think, design around how you link two disparate data sets together through a unique key, and it's completely transparent to the user. And so if I come back to this PowerPoint, the first thing that I'm doing when I load my notifications page is I'm reaching out to Mongo and I'm actually returning that upload object. So that upload object comes back, and then I grab off of that the image path and I make a request out to S3 to pull down that image that's associated with this and then populate that there as well. And then the second thing that I'm doing here is I'm also pulling the case number off of that upload. And then that case number is going out as a request to the NashvilleData.gov API, and then returning all of this relevant case information, the report description, the incident status, the NIBRS number, the offense description, whether or not a weapon was used, all of that kind of good stuff. Then after I do this, this image is then being converted from that S3 blob into a JPEG. I pass that JPEG into a series of 3 different artificial intelligence models. One of those models basically says whether or not there's a face in the picture. And if there is, it then draws a box around the face. The second model, if it passes that check, it gets passed to the second model. And in that second model, it's actually pulling out 68 unique landmarks on that particular face. And then the third model is actually running that against all of the reference data to actually give you a recognition match. And so it's kind of a really cool implementation. And then once I get that recognition match back, I push that into this page. And then in this page, I'm able to actually use this to do the next step of the process, which is, okay, now that I know that Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen are in this picture, I can actually select Mary Kate Olsen, and then I'm brought to a dossier style view. And in this dossier style view, I can see things like gender, age, email, mother's maiden name, all of that kind of biographic data. And ignore this, I had to generate a bunch of fake data to actually make this work. And so there's a 50-50 chance it was going to get the gender right. I can see things like booking history, known addresses, notes and activity. And then I also created this, this search functionality here as well. So if I want to look up Ashley Olsen, I can actually just run a search here for Ashley Olsen, and I can select Ashley Olsen, and I can open up the dossier style view here for Ashley Olsen as well. So that's essentially my project. I want to go through one quick code snippet because I think that this is really cool, and I kind of explained some of this process as we are actually going through here. But this is that process of actually uploading in 2 different directions, which I think is a really unique implementation and a really cool way of storing both media and an object that can actually be used together. So here, what I'm doing is after that, I essentially add an event listener onto that media modal, and the event listener is for the user to click the submit button. And then once that user clicks the submit button, I'm actually pulling all of that data out of the form. And so if you saw in that form, I had a case number, I had a justification, I had a submission date, and then I had the raw file as well. And so I'm building an object here that I essentially send to this uploads file. And this uploads file is actually the route to S3. So I post this into S3. And then S3 responds to me. And then I take that JSON response and I create a different object. And in this other object, I then push into my uploads, which is actually going to MongoDB. And so they're actually really tied together. And the user would never know that it's actually being stored in two separate locations. And then exactly the opposite happens when I make the call back. I first make the call to Mongo, I extract the image path, and then I use that image path to make the call to S3 to return that blob. So this is my project. There's a ton of additional work that I want to put into this. I think it's really cool. I want to keep working on this. In particular, the model performance, I think I can end up improving, not necessarily from an accuracy perspective, but more so from a how quickly it actually responds with the data. By instead of running that model each time, storing the values, and then using those stored values to power the model the next time it loads. So I'll go ahead and pause there if there's any questions. If not, thank you so much for taking the time to view my demonstration.
Awesome. Okay. Do you guys have any questions? Joseph, what was your favorite part?
Yeah, so for me, I know this sounds weird, but I liked the parts that I got stuck on for more than a day at a time. Because it was really rewarding when I actually figured out what the problem was. So in particular, one of the most difficult things for me was I kept getting a failure from the model where it said the canvas is not recognized. And I was stuck on this problem for literally like almost 48 hours straight, and I could not figure out what was going on. And the weird part is I could upload an image manually to the model, but when I got that image from S3, the model wouldn't recognize it as an image. And what I actually realized is S3 returns everything as an octet stream unless you specify the data type. And so what I ended up having to do was specify that every image was going to be uploaded as a JPEG, so that when I downloaded it, it would process it as an actual image instead of as, I don't know what kind of data type it was actually being processed as, because the image was returning fine in my application. And then I realized that the browser can read an octet stream base 64, but the model couldn't. And it was really frustrating. It took me so long to figure this out. I almost gave up on the project and changed it entirely. And I was just walking around one day, and I was literally like out walking my dogs, and I thought about it, and I was like, I think this might work. And I came home immediately. I changed one thing and it started working. And I was just, I was elated. And that was the most rewarding part of the whole process for me.
That's cool. I do have one tiny one. I swear I'll be quick, but I'm just curious. It was really neat to see all that. You did show us one block of code where you would change the two calls. And the first call you were using fetch, and the second call you were using Axios. I'm just curious how that came about.
So yeah, I need to actually change that to an Axios post. But the example that I was using from so I had to do a ton of my own research to figure out how to use AWS S3 and how to use it effectively. And the example that they had was fetch. And I had it in my notes to go back and change that to an Axios post. But I just never did.
Which is cool. I wasn't being critical. I was just, thought it was,
yeah, it was example code. Obviously, I didn't use a out of the box example here, but that was sort of the methodology that they taught in the YouTube video that I was looking at.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you everyone for attending Demo Day. We will have these recorded and posted for for everybody to review.
Thank you all. That was very impressive, all of you.
They worked their butts off. So I know we're proud of them.
Oh, it's a great job. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it is really cool. Great job, everyone. It's very cool.
All right, Lori, any last words?
Thanks everyone for coming. If you have any questions about any of the graduates, they graduated just a little while ago, let me know. And students, I'll see you Wednesday night for a job seeking workshop. And that's all. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.